The blue glow of my laptop screen burned my eyes as I sat cross-legged on the worn gray couch in my Austin apartment. It was 2:17 a.m., and the only sound was the low hum of the ceiling fan fighting the sticky Texas heat that seeped through the cracked window sill. My phone buzzed again on the coffee table, rattling against a half-empty mug of cold coffee. I didn't want to look. I already knew, but I picked it up anyway. Mom, Emily, the pain specialist, called back. The new injections are $2,800 out of pocket. Insurance is dragging their feet again. I'm so scared, honey. The pain is keeping me up all night. Can you help your mom? I'll pay you back when the disability check hits. Jake, sis, my car died on the way home from the site. Starter or something. $650 minimum, or I lose this gig. You know I'm good for it. Love you. To messages, 30 minutes apart. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. The knot in my chest tightened until it felt like someone was squeezing my ribs. I was 25 years old, living in a one-bedroom walk-up in East Austin with second-hand furniture and a dream of maybe one day affording a place with a real kitchen table instead of this wobbly IKEA thing. Yet here I was, always the reliable one. The one who got the scholarship, the steady job at the marketing firm, the good girl who never complained. I scrolled up through the chat history, the words blurring together. Last month it was Mom's blood pressure meds. The month before that, Jake's rent after he got laid off again. I'd sent money for Grandma's supposed hospital visit that turned out to be a weekend at the lake. Every time I tried to set boundaries, the guilt hit like a truck. She raised you alone after Dad left. Jake's your little brother. Family sticks together. Tears stung my eyes. I wiped them away with the sleeve of my oversized Texas Longhorns hoodie, the one I'd had since college. The apartment smelled like leftover Thai food and the faint vanilla from the cheap candle I'd lit hours ago, hoping it would calm me. It hadn't. My reflection in the dark window looked hollow, dark circles under my green eyes, brown hair twisted up in a messy bun with strands sticking to my neck from the sweat. I couldn't keep doing this. Not if I wanted to stay sane. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. I opened a new Excel file, the blank grid staring back at me like a challenge. I'd always been good with numbers at work, tracking client expenses, building reports that made my boss look good. Why couldn't I do the same for my own life? For this mess? I started simple. Tab 1, my expenses. Columns for date, category, amount, notes, receipt. I added drop-downs: rent, groceries, utilities, gas, coffee, because Lord knows I needed it. Then I built formulas that auto-summed everything, turning the total red if I went over budget. It felt good, like drawing a line in the sand, but that wasn't enough. Not tonight. I created tab 2, family loans. My hands shook as I typed. Subcolumns for borrower, date borrowed, amount, purpose, due date, status. Conditional formatting, green if repaid, yellow for pending, angry red for overdue. I linked it to a master dashboard with pie charts and running totals. Amount I can't afford to lose. I added a section for receipts, photo uploads, timestamps. No more vague "I'll get it to you soon" texts. Hours slipped by. My back ached from hunching, but I kept going. I built in alerts, fake ones for now, but I imagined the satisfaction of a ping every time someone missed a repayment. I copied the structure into a clean version for my job expense reports too, the one that had already saved me from awkward reimbursement fights at the office. Color-coded categories: client meals blue, travel purple, supplies green. It looked professional. Powerful. By 4:45 a.m. The sky outside was starting to lighten to a bruised purple. I leaned back, rubbing my temples. The spreadsheet wasn't just numbers anymore. It was armor. Proof that I wasn't crazy for wanting to keep track. That I wasn't selfish for protecting what I'd worked so hard to build. I opened Google Sheets, imported everything, and made it shareable. My cursor hovered over the invite button. Mom's email. Jake's email. I typed a short message in the notes. Hey, I built this to help us all stay organized. No more stress or mix-ups. Log what you need, attach receipts, and we'll track repayments together. Love you both. My finger trembled on the trackpad. Was I really doing this? Turning family into line items. The thought made my stomach twist. But then another buzz cut through the quiet. Mom, Emily, you still awake? The doctor's office opens at 8. I hate asking, but ... I hit share. The invites went out with a soft whoosh. For a second, relief washed over me, warm and tentative, like the first sip of coffee on a cold morning. I closed my eyes and imagined it working, the three of us finally talking like adults. No more surprise emergencies draining my account. Maybe Mom would finally get real help. Maybe Jake would step up. Maybe I could breathe again, save for that trip to the coast I'd been dreaming about. Or even think about moving in with Mark someday without feeling like a fraud. I stood up, stretching my stiff legs, and padded to the tiny kitchen. The linoleum was cool under my bare feet. I poured a glass of water, staring out at the streetlights flickering off as dawn crept in. The spreadsheet tab still glowed on my laptop behind me. This is going to save my sanity, I told myself. At 25, I'm finally taking control. My phone lit up again on the counter. I glanced over, expecting another plea from Mom. It was a new text. From an unknown number, unknown, Emily Thompson. This is David. Your mom mentioned you're good with money stuff. We need to talk. It's important. I froze, glass halfway to my lips. Who the hell was David? And why did Mom give him my number? The cursor on the shared sheet blinked innocently, waiting for the first entry. I had no idea the numbers were about to tell me everything I didn't want to know. 3 weeks later, the morning light filtered through my cheap beige blinds, casting striped shadows across the kitchen counter where my laptop still lived most nights. I sipped my coffee black, strong, the kind that actually woke me up, and opened the shared Google sheet. The dashboard loaded clean and satisfying, green cells dominating the repayment column. My savings tab showing a steady climb. $1,247. Not a fortune, but mine. For the first time in years, it felt like I wasn't bleeding out drop by drop. I scrolled through the entries. Mom had logged a $180 grocery run with a blurry photo of her Walmart receipt. Jake added a $320 car part, complete with the AutoZone invoice. No frantic midnight texts begging for immediate transfers. Just numbers, organized, honest. My chest loosened a fraction as I marked them reviewed. The knot that had lived between my shoulders since college eased a little more each day, morning. Control freak, Mark teased from the doorway of my bedroom. He'd stayed over again, his dark hair messy from sleep, wearing my old oversized t-shirt that hung loose on his tall frame. He crossed the small living room in bare feet, the floorboards creaking under him, and wrapped his arms around me from behind. His chin rested on my shoulder, warm and solid. How's the Empire this morning? I leaned back into him, breathing in the faint scent of his cedarwood body wash. Empire's holding. Mom actually attached the receipt this time. No sob story about forgetting, he chuckled, the sound rumbling against my back. See, your spreadsheet sorcery is working. I'm proud of you. You've been lighter lately? Less like you're carrying the whole damn world. We stood there for a minute, the hum of the fridge and distant traffic from East Cesar Chavez filling the quiet. Mark had been my rock through the worst of it, the late nights when I'd cry after sending another chunk of my paycheck home. He worked construction management, hands calloused but gentle, always quick with a joke or a takeout order when I was too drained to cook. Talking about moving in together didn't feel impossible anymore. Not with the buffer I was finally building. At work that afternoon, the fluorescent lights of the open plan office buzzed overhead as I presented my updated expense template in the team meeting. The conference room smelled like stale coffee and whiteboard markers. My boss, Carla, sharp woman in her 40s with perfectly winged eyeliner, leaned forward as I clicked through the slides. "This is excellent, Emily," she said, tapping her pen on the table. Her voice carried that mix of surprise and approval that always made my stomach flip with nervous hope. The auto-categorization, the receipt integration, the dashboard for reimbursements. The finance team has been complaining about messy reports for months. Can you train the department on this next week? Heat rose in my cheeks as the team murmured agreements. Sarah from accounts gave me a thumbs up across the table. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. Absolutely. I built it because I was tired of chasing down missing receipts myself. Happy to share. Carla smiled, the kind that reached her eyes. This could save us hours every cycle. Good work. I floated through the rest of the day. On my lunch break, I walked to the food truck lot down the street, the Austin sun beating down on my shoulders, the air thick with the smell of tacos al pastor and sizzling onions. I treated myself to carne asada instead of the usual side desk salad. As I ate on a shaded bench, watching joggers and dog walkers pass by, I checked the family sheet again. Another entry from Mom, Dr. Copay, $95, receipt attached, clean, no guilt trip. That evening, Mark and I cooked dinner together in my tiny kitchen stir-fry with whatever vegetables I had left. The sizzle of chicken in the pan mixing with our easy chatter. The apartment felt warmer with him there, less like a pressure cooker and more like home. Steam fought the single window as I chopped bell peppers, the knife rhythmic on the cutting board. You know, he said, bumping my hip with his. Once we combined places, we could use that system for us too. Joint expenses, vacation fund, all that grown-up stuff. He grinned, eyes crinkling at the corners. I'm serious about you, about building something real. I set the knife down and turned to him, wiping my hands on a dish towel. His words wrapped around the hopeful parts of me I'd kept buried under layers of family obligation. I'd like that, I whispered, rising on my toes to kiss him. It was soft at first, then deeper, the kind of kiss that made the world shrink to just us. For a moment, the spreadsheet wasn't a weapon against chaos. It was the foundation for something better. Later, after Mark had fallen asleep on the couch watching a game, his arm draped heavy across my lap, I pulled out my laptop again. The dashboard glowed softly in the dim lamplight. Everything balanced. My emergency fund was growing. Work was noticing me. Mark saw a future with me. Even the family logs looked manageable. I was typing a quick note to myself follow up on Mom's next appointment when a new row appeared at the bottom of the family loans tab. It must have since while I was distracted. Borrow mom date to die amount $2,450 purpose. Specialist injections urgent receipt. No file attached notes. Pain is unbearable. Will send proof tomorrow. Love you. My cursor hovered. No receipt, no photo. Just that familiar ache creeping back into my chest, the one I thought the system had started to kill. I refreshed the page, hoping it was a glitch. It wasn't. Before I could message her, my phone buzzed on the armrest. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I answered, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't wake Mark. Hey, Mom, I saw the new entry. Oh, Emily. Thank God you picked up. She cut in, her voice tight and watery, the way it got when she was winding up for the full plea. In the background, I heard the TV murdering and what sounded like ice clinking in a glass. The office said if I don't pay by tomorrow, they won't schedule the procedure. Jake's already stressed about his car, and I didn't want to burden you again. But double quote, she trailed off into a soft sob that twisted something deep in my gut. I glanced at the pristine columns of my spreadsheet, the green cells mocking me now. The system was supposed to make this easier, clearer. But as Mom launched into the details, the doctor's warning, the fear in her voice, I felt the first real crack in the illusion. Something didn't add up. The amount was higher than before. And where was that receipt she promised? I'll log it properly, honey, she said quickly, as if reading my silence. Just like you asked. You're such a good girl for setting this up. We hung up after I mumbled something non-committal. Mark stirred beside me, murmuring in his sleep. I stared at the screen, the new red highlighted row pulsing like a warning. The numbers were supposed to protect me. So why did it suddenly feel like they were hiding something? The next few days blurred into a cautious rhythm. Mornings started the same, coffee brewing in my little kitchen. the rich aroma cutting through the faint musty smell of the old apartment carpet. I'd open the shared sheet while the city outside woke up, horns honking on the street below, neighbors' doors slamming. The dashboard still looked solid, mostly green, mostly honest. I told myself the system was working. I was in control, but the cracks started small, like hairline fractures in a windshield you try to ignore until they spiderweb across your view. It was a Thursday evening when I first noticed. I'd come home from work, kicked off my flats by the door, and collapsed onto the couch. My feet throbbed from a day of back-to-back meetings, and the AC unit rattled in the window like an old friend complaining. Marp was working late on a site, so the apartment felt emptier than usual. I pulled up the sheet out of habit, scrolling through the week's entries while a half-eaten burrito cooled on the coffee table. Mom single quotes S latest groceries, $187.43. Attached was a receipt, but something felt off. I zoomed in on the photo. Not Walmart like usual. The items listed filet mignon, imported cheese, 2 bottles of wine. Didn't scream single mom on a budget with chronic pain. My stomach tightened. I remembered her text from last week about cutting back on everything because of the medical bills. I shook it off. Maybe she treated herself. She deserved that, right? I marked it reviewed anyway, the green fill calming my nerves for a moment. Then Jake's row popped up. Job interview clothes, $298. Receipt from a trendy boutique downtown, the kind with minimalist logos and price tags that made my eyes water. The timestamp on the upload was Saturday afternoon, but I'd seen his Instagram story that same day, him and a couple buddies at a rooftop bar near the river, beers in hand, city lights sparkling behind them. Living my best life, the caption had read. No mention of interviews. I set the laptop down harder than I meant to, the burrito suddenly tasteless. The fin whirred overhead, pushing warm air around. I grabbed my phone and opened Jake's profile again, heart picking up speed. There it was, clear as the Texas sky. Him laughing, new sneakers visible in one shot. The same ones that probably ate up half that interview money. Before I could overthink it, I texted the group chat we'd started for the sheet.me. Hey, saw the new logs. Mom, those groceries looked fancy. Everything okay? Jake, how'd the interview go? Proud of you for putting in the effort. The replies came faster than I expected. Jake, it went good, sis. Thanks for noticing. Clothes make the man, right? Mom, Emily, don't start. Groceries included things for the freezer, so I don't have to shop as much. The pain makes it hard to get out. You know that. Why are you questioning everything now? I stared at the screen, the blue light reflecting off my glasses. My thumbs hovered. I'm not questioning. I wanted to type. I'm trying to help, but the words stuck. Instead, I called Mom. The phone rang twice before she picked up, her voice already edged with exhaustion. Emily, what's this about? No hello. Just straight in. I paced the small living room, barefoot on the cool floorboards. Nothing bad, Mom. I just ... The system is supposed to make things transparent, you know? So we're all on the same page. That grocery amount seemed high, and Jake's post, a heavy sigh crackled through the line. In the background, I heard the TV some reality show with dramatic music. Transparent. Honey, it feels like you're spying. I raised you better than to treat your family like suspects in one of those detective shows. The specialist said stress makes the pain worse. Is that what you want? Guilt slammed into me like a wave, hot and familiar. I stopped by the window, pressing my forehead against the glass. Outside, streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows over parked cars and a neighbor walking his dog. No, of course not. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure the money's going where it needs to. I've been sending a lot and you think I'm lying. Her voice cracked, that perfect mix of hurt and indignation she'd perfected over the years. After everything. Your father left us with nothing, and I worked doubles so you could have opportunities. Now you've got this fancy job and a boyfriend and you're tracking us like we're stealing from you. Tears pricked my eyes. I slid down the wall to sit on the floor, knees pulled to my chest. The apartment smelled like the burrito and my vanilla candle, but it all felt sour now. Mom, that's not fair. I love you guys. I built this to help us. No more guessing or fighting about who owes what. A long pause. When she spoke again, her tone had softened, but it didn't reach the riot underneath. I know, baby. I'm grateful. Really, just ease up a little. The system's great, but family isn't numbers on a screen. Jake's trying. I'm trying. Give us some trust. We ended the call with her promising to send more details tomorrow. I stayed on the floor for a while, phone heavy in my hand. Mark texted that he'd be home soon with ice cream mint chocolate chip, my favorite. I forced a smile at the message, but inside, doubt gnawed at me. Was I becoming obsessed, paranoid? The girl who left her struggling family behind for a better life and now audited their every purchase? That night, after Mark and I shared the ice cream on the couch, his arm around me, laughing at a dumb comedy special, I waited until he dozed off before opening the sheet again. Something pulled me back. I cross-checked the bank transfers I could see. The dates of Mom's medical logs lined up too neatly with Jake's nights out. A pattern I hadn't noticed before, subtle as a whisper. I dug a little deeper, pulling up old statements. One transfer stood out, a larger one, to a Cash App handle I didn't recognize. No note in the sheet. My pulse quickened as I hovered over it. My phone buzzed suddenly on the cushion beside me. Unknown number. I answered quietly. Hello. A man's voice, smooth but hesitant. Emily, this is David, your mom's friend. She said you handle the family finances now. Listen, we need to talk about some of these expenses. It's not what you think. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at the phone, then back at the glowing spreadsheet. The red cells seemed to pulse brighter in the dark room. What the hell was going on? Sleep wouldn't come that night. The unknown caller's words looped in my head like a bad song on repeat. David, your mom's friend. The apartment felt smaller in the dark, the walls closing in with the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the building settling. Mark breathed steadily beside me on the bed, one arm thrown across the pillow, but I slipped out from under the sheets anyway. My bare feet padded across the cool hardwood to the couch, where my laptop waited like a coiled snake. I opened it, the screen's harsh glow cutting through the shadows. The shared sheet stared back at me, innocent Roseanne columns that had once felt like salvation. I clicked into the transaction history I'd linked from my bank app, cross-referencing every medical and emergency entry. My fingers flew over the keys, heart hammering against my ribs as patterns emerged like ghosts in the data. There it was. Recurring transfers to a Cash App account. $450 here, $600 there. Labeled vaguely in Mom's logs as specialist copays or prescriptions, but the dates didn't match any clinic hours I could find online. I pulled up a new tab, the keyboard clicks echoing too loud in the quiet. Social media searches. Public records. It didn't take long. David Ramirez, mid-40s, profile full of smiling selfies at upscale restaurants and weekend getaways. One photo showed him with his arm around a woman whose face I knew too well, Mom, laughing in a way I hadn't seen in years. Her hand on his chest. My breath caught. The room spun for a second, the vanilla candle stub on the table blurring in my vision. I enlarged the photo. They looked cozy, happy, not like a woman crippled by unbearable pain who could barely afford groceries. I dug deeper, hands trembling now. Bank statements from the last 4 months. The money I'd sent thousands funneled through her account traced straight to David. Fancy dinners. A hotel stay in San Antonio. Even a payment to a jewelry store. No injections. No specialists. The chronic back pain that had kept me up at night with worrying. Fabricated. Or at least exaggerated enough to keep the taps flowing from her reliable daughter. Tears slipped down my cheeks, hot and silent. I pressed a fist to my mouth to stifle the sob building in my throat. The apartment smelled like the remnants of our takeout dinner, garlic and soy and Mark's cologne lingering on the throw blanket. Everything felt tainted. I thought of the nights I'd skip lunches at work to afford her treatments, the vacation fund I drained, the way I defended her to Mark when he gently suggested she might be taking advantage. I grabbed my phone with shaking fingers and dialed her number. It rang 4 times before she answered, voice groggy and thick with sleep. Emily, it's after midnight. What's wrong, honey? The words tumbled out before I could stop them, raw and jagged. Who's David, Mom? A long silence stretched between us, broken only by the distant wail of a siren outside. When she spoke, her tone shifted defensive, edged with panic. David, he's a friend. Why are you asking about him at this hour? Because I see it all in the spreadsheet, I whispered, voice cracking. The transfers. The amounts that were supposed to be for your pain. For the doctor. I built that system to help us, and you used it to hide him. The wine, the trips, the jewelry while I was eating ramen and stressing about my rent. Was any of it real? She sighed, the sound heavy and familiar, like the one she used when I was a teenager pushing back. Emily, you don't understand. David's been good to me. He's helping with things. The pain is real, but sometimes life is hard, and a little happiness. I stood up, pacing the narrow strip between the couch and kitchen, my free hand gripping the back of a chair until my knuckles whitened. The floorboards groaned under me. I've sent you thousands. I've lost sleep wondering if you were okay. Jake too, and it was all for some guy. While you told me you were scared and alone. Her voice rose, defensive walls slamming into place. Don't you dare judge me. You're young. You have your fancy job, your Mark, your perfect little organized life in the city. I gave up everything for you and your brother after your father bailed. A little support isn't too much to ask. David isn't a secret, he's just ... complicated. The money helps us both, helps you. I shot back, tears flowing freely now. My reflection in the dark window looked shattered, eyes swollen. Hair a mess, shoulders hunched like I was bracing for a blow. I'm your daughter. Not an ATM. The system showed me the truth. Mom, all those logs, the dodgy receipts. You lied to my face, a rustle on her end, like she was sitting up in bed. That damn spreadsheet. I knew it was a bad idea. You're turning into someone who doesn't trust her own blood. Jake understands. He gets it, Jake. The name hit like ice water. Had he known to? The bar posts, the boutique clothes, suddenly it clicked into an uglier picture. I sank back onto the couch, the cushions swallowing me. The betrayal burned deep, a hollow ache spreading through my chest. All the guilt I'd carried, the late night worries, the sacrifices, wasted on lies and a man I didn't even know. I need time, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Don't log anything else. Don't call begging. I can't right now. I hung up before she could reply, the phone dropping into my lap. The spreadsheet still glowed on the laptop screen, the red cells now screaming accusations. David's name echoed in my mind. Mom's laugh in that photo, genuine, carefree. It gutted me more than the money ever could. Mark stirred in the bedroom, calling my name sleepily. I wiped my face, but the terrors kept coming. The system I'd built to save my sanity had just ripped my family apart. And as I sat there in the pre-dawn gray, staring at an old message thread, one more notification pinged in the sheet. A new entry from Jake, timestamped minutes ago. Purpose: family support urgent. $1,200 for mom's procedure. Details coming. My blood ran cold. He knew. They both did. What else had they been hiding? The drive to Mom's house in the suburbs the next morning felt like moving through molasses. Austin's morning traffic crawled along I-35, the sun glaring off windshields and baking the inside of my old sedan despite the AC blasting. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. The printed spreadsheet pages highlighted in angry yellow and red, sitting shotgun like evidence in a trial. I hadn't slept. My eyes burned, and a dull headache throbbed behind my temples. Mark had offered to come, but I needed to do this alone. Face the mess I'd helped create by staying silent for so long. Mom's single-story ranch house looked the same as always. Faded blue siding. A patchy lawn scattered with Jake's half-fixed truck parts. The crepe myrtle tree blooming pink in the front yard. I parked in the driveway, the engine ticking as it cooled. The air outside smelled like cut grass and distant barbecue smoke from a neighbor. I grabbed the folder and walked to the door, each step heavier than the last. Jake answered my knock, his hair unkempt, wearing a faded band tee and basketball shorts. His eyes flicked to the folder in my hand, narrowing. What's this about? Inside, I said, voice steadier than I felt. Now, Mom was in the living room, perched on the worn floral couch with a mug of coffee, the TV murmuring some morning talk show. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes, but her posture straightened when she saw me. The room smelled like cigarette smoke. She'd started again and the vanilla air freshener that never quite covered it. I didn't sit. I spread the pages across the coffee table, the ink smudged from my sweaty hands during the drive. David, the transfers. The fake medical logs. I have it all here. Every dollar I sent that went to him instead of you. Explain. Mom's face crumpled for a second, then hardened. She set her mug down with a clink. You drove all the way out here to accuse me. With your little papers. Jake leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Sis, chill. Mom's been through hell. You don't know everything. I know enough. I snapped, my voice rising despite myself. The folder shook in my grip. I sacrificed lunches, weekends, peace of mind. I built that system because I cared. And you used it to lie to me. For a boyfriend. While telling me you were scared and sick. Tears welled in Mom's eyes, but they didn't fall. She stood, gesturing wildly at the papers. David makes me feel alive again, Emily, after years of scraping by alone. You think those fancy numbers fix everything. The pain is real. The bills are real. But life isn't black and white like your spreadsheet. I needed support too. Support. I laughed, but it came out bitter and broken. I paced the threadbare carpet, the fibers rough under my sandals. I was your support, Jake too. We've been your support since Dad left. And you chose to hide this? To let me worrying myself sick. Jake stepped forward, his jaw tight. She didn't hide everything. I knew about David. He's not bad, Help me with some stuff too. You're blowing this up because you finally got your life together and forgot where you came from. The words landed like punches. I stopped pacing, staring at my brother, the kid I'd helped raise with leftover pizza and homework help after school. Forgot? I never forgot. I carried it. Every text, every request. And you both played me. Mom reached for my arm, her touch clammy. Baby, please. It wasn't all lies. Some of the money went to real things. I just stretched it. Don't turn your back on us now. I pulled away, chest heaving. The room felt too small, the walls pressing in with old family photos smiling down at Mimi and Jake as kids, gaps where Dad's pictures used to be. I need the truth. All of it. That's when the ultimate twist slipped out. Mom's face paled as she sank back onto the couch, rubbing her temples. In the heat of it, her voice cracked. Your father never sent us a dime anyway. He washed his hands of us years ago. That's why I had to do what I did. But I'd spent the early hours digging further. I pulled another paper from the folder World Bank records I'd requested weeks ago for family history. That's not true. I checked. He sent monthly support. For years. You told me he abandoned us completely. You told him I didn't want contact. You kept the money and poisoned everything. Silence crashed over the room. Jake's eyes widened, darting to Mom. She stared at the floor, lips pressed thin. It wasn't like that, she whispered finally. He left first. I did what I had to protect you kids. The money helped us survive. My voice broke, hot tears spilling over. I felt hollowed out, the betrayal carving deep into places I didn't know could hurt more. All those birthdays wondering why Dad never called. The stories Mom told of his selfishness. Lies upon lies, stacked like the columns in my spreadsheet. You destroyed any chance I had with him. For control. For money. Jake muttered something under his breath, siding with her again. Mom did her best. You're making it worse. The argument exploded, then raised voices overlapping, accusations flying like shrapnel. I stood in the middle, papers scattered, the crepe myrtle visible through the window blurring with my tears. Mom cried about sacrifice. Jake defended her choices. I shouted about trust, about the daughter who loved them enough to track every cent just to keep them afloat. By the time I stormed out, slamming the screen door behind me, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the keys. The suburban street looked normal, kids on bikes, sprinklers hissing, but my world had shattered. As I backed out of the driveway, my phone lit up with a call from an unfamiliar number. I answered through the car's Bluetooth, voice raw. Emily Thompson. A man's voice, older, tentative. This is your father. I just heard from a mutual friend that you've been looking into things. I've wanted to reach you for years. Can we talk? My foot slammed on the brake. The car jerked to a stop in the middle of the quiet street. The man who was never supposed to care was on the line. And everything I thought I knew was crumbling faster than I could track. The days after the blow-up blurred into a haze of quiet routines and heavy silences. I drove back to my Austin apartment that afternoon with the windows down, hot wind whipping through my hair and carrying away the worst of the tears. The city unfolded around me, vibrant street art on warehouse walls, the distant hum of live music from somewhere on South Congress, the smell of tacos and exhaust mixing in the air. Life kept moving, indifferent to the earthquake that had split my family apart. I didn't call Mom or Jake for a week. The shared Google Sheet sat untouched in my drive, a digital monument to good intentions gone wrong. Eventually, I made it private. No more red cells judging anyone but me. I refined it, instead streamlined tabs for my own budget, work expenses, even a new one for future me with goals that felt achievable now. The formulas still worked their magic, but they served only one person. Me. Mark was waiting when I got home that first night, takeout bags on the counter and a worried crease between his brows. He pulled me into a hug without a word, his flannel shirt soft against my cheek, smelling of sawdust and safety. You okay? He murmured into my hair. I shook my head against his chest. Not yet. But I will be. We ate pad thai on the couch, the TV off for once. I told him everything, the lies, the money, Dad's call. He listened, really listened, his hand rubbing slow circles on my back. You did the right thing, Em. That system showed you the truth. Now you get to build something real. Work became my anchor. Carla called me into her office 2 weeks later, the space smelling of fresh printer ink and her signature vanilla latte. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, warming the generic corporate carpet. The expense template you built is getting rolled out company-wide, she said, sliding a folder across her desk. Finance loves it. You're getting a promotion, Emily, senior coordinator, and a raise that should help with. Well, life, I blinked back, tears right there under the fluorescent lights, the weight on my shoulders lifting just a fraction. The same tool that had exposed my family's fractures had lifted me at work. Irony tasted bittersweet on my tongue as I thanked her, voice thick. Evenings grew softer. I started running along the Lady Bird Lake Trail at dusk, the path crowded with joggers and dogs, the water reflecting the pinks and oranges of the setting sun. Sweat dripped down my back, muscles burning in a good way. One night, after a particularly long loop, I sat on a bench overlooking the water, breath steadying as ducks glided by. My phone buzzed a text from Dad. Dad, coffee this weekend. No pressure. Just want to hear about your life. I've missed so much. We met at a small cafe near the university, the air thick with the scent of fresh pastries and roasted beans. He looked older than the faded photos I remember, gray threading his dark hair, laugh lines around, eyes the same green as mine. We sat at an outdoor table, awkward at first, stirring our drinks as traffic hummed past. I never stopped sending the money, he said quietly, staring into his black coffee. Your mom. She made it clear you didn't want contact. I believed her because I thought I deserved it. Leaving was the biggest mistake of my life. I traced the rim of my latte mug, the ceramic worm under my fingers. She told me you abandoned us. No calls, no nothing. I believed her too. The words hung between us, heavy with lost years. We didn't fix everything that day. There were too many gaps, too much pain, but we talked. Real talk about his new family up north, my job, the spreadsheet that started it all. He laughed softly when I described building it at 2 a.m. Sounds like something I would have done. Numbers don't lie. Low contact with Mom and Jake settled in like a necessary scar. Mom texted occasionally, short messages about missing me, vague apologies wrapped in guilt. Jake sent a meme once, like nothing had happened. I replied when I could, polite but firm. I need space. Love you, but boundaries stay. The system had shown me I couldn't save them from themselves. Months passed. I turned 26 on a quiet Saturday. The apartment filled with the scent of homemade cake Mark helped me bake. My savings account balance glowed green on the screen. No more midnight bailouts. I even started a small side project, anonymous posts on a budgeting forum sharing my template. Women like me young, carrying too much messaged back. This saved me from my own family drama. It felt like turning poison into something useful. One crisp fall evening, as golden light slanted through my windows and the fin spun lazily overhead, I opened the refined spreadsheet. Clean lines, my numbers in perfect order. The dashboard showed stability, peace. I leaned back on the couch, a real smile tugging at my lips for the first time in ages. The tool that was supposed to track expenses had tracked the truth instead. It forced the hard conversations, the cuts, the healing. At 25, I thought it would save my sanity. It ended up saving my life. My phone buzzed on the table. A new email notification. Subject, urgent family matter. From Patricia. Thompsoni hovered over it, thumb trembling slightly. Mom rarely emailed. The preview line read, Emily, there's something I never told you about David and your brother. We need to talk before it's too late. The cursor blinked, waiting. Outside, Austin hummed with evening life laughter from the street, distant music. I closed the laptop without opening it, but as I set the phone down, another message popped up. This one from an unknown number, unknown. Emily, it's David. Your mom isn't who you think. Call me. The spreadsheet only showed half the story. My heart stuttered. The fan kept spinning, but the room suddenly felt colder. What else had those numbers missed?